Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and good afternoon. And thank you for joining me tonight on the late one in review, where we look at some of the top news uh, from the world, from the UK, and even touching base in Jamaica. I want to thank for those coming on Instagram, those on Facebook, those on YouTube. Remember to like, share, subscribe, share the video. On YouTube, on Facebook, it's just going to be on Sylbourne TV. That's on the Sylbourne TV page, and on Instagram, you're only seeing me only. If you want to see us, all of us, you'll have to go over um, onto YouTube, which is Sylbourne TV. But first of all, let me just bring in my guest, and I bring in first Sir Garry Graham. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Sylbourne. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. How is it down there from your side of the world?
Well, you mean up here in Leeds?
In Leeds, yes.
Yeah. It's been a very lovely day today. Very calm, very mild, and it's been a very good day. A blessed day.
A
Very
blessed
blessed.
day. Fantastic. Well, let's top it off with Anthony, Mr. Francis. Anthony, sir, how are you doing?
Hey, good to see you again, Sylbourne. Good to see you as well, Garry. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Anthony. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thank you. You're looking sharp.
Well, I'm trying to keep up with you, but every time I see you, you're doing something different.
well, well, that's fantastic, and I'm trying to keep up with you both at each time, as well. But listen, guys, it's a roller coaster week this week. The Prime Minister getting going with his cabinet reshuffle, and also history was made with tennis as well. But we'll touch base on that later. But Anthony, listen, I'll start off with you because for weeks you have been making some sounds and some sort of predictions. You tend to maybe have the ears of the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister have your ears. I don't know which one it is. You've seen the cabinet reshuffle. What's your take on it?
Well, I think I'm pleased to see some of the changes that Boris Johnson has done. I mean, I think it was certainly with regards to Gavin Williamson. He had to go. Dominic Raab, he had to go, and the other changes that he's made. So I think really what he perhaps has done, he's listened not just to public opinion, but also I think he's looked at the competency of those who in his top team, and he's made changes as appropriate. However, I also think he is trying to also ensure he's got allies in place for when he does the election announcement, and he's got people in posts that will support his agenda for the levelling up that he makes a big initiative and story about. So I think in the main, certainly from an educational point of view, the teachers' unions and the students themselves will be quite pleased to see the back of Gavin Williamson, who was totally useless, to be honest. And I think Dominic Raab, he felt the fallout for being on holiday when he should be at his desk. So those type of things can't go unnoticed, and clearly they haven't. And Boris has acted quickly in order to actually make sure that he's got a team that he can rely on.
Yes. What's your take on the cabinet before we sort of look at some of the personalities, Garry?
Well, that question is a very big question, Sylbourne, and I don't know if you can talk about that and not hit some of the personalities. But in as much as what my learned friend there has said, I can't add anything to that because I would agree with what he's saying. But I think that he didn't go far enough, and I think that probably one other person could have been changed from that. But at the same time, I think that he could have used a lot more. I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't want to say BAME.
Yes.
I would just say black people. I think he could have used, if there's any more in the Conservative Party, that is.
Yes.
You
well,
know,
well, let's look at the first. Let's look at the first persons in there. You can see that there, and what we have is Zahari, who is the new Education Secretary. Nadine Dorries, Cultural. You've got Nigel Adams, Minister with our Portfolio and Cabinet Office. Simon Clark, Chief Secretary of the Treasury. Kit Malthouse, and Michelle Dunham. These are the newcomers. And Anthony, you mentioned about Nadeem Zahawi. He was the COVID minister, wasn't he?
That's correct, yeah. And I mean, I understand what Gary's saying about BAME representation, but I think it's fair to say out of the top four positions in the cabinet, two of them are held by BAME people of colour. So we're talking about Priti Patel and obviously the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak. You know, these are two of the most high prominent roles in the cabinet, and they are being held by people of colour. So I think we have to give credit where credit is due to those individuals, and for Boris in actually appointing them. With regard to the other individuals who are currently have been either been promoted or who have been removed, certainly, you know, as Gary has said, I mean, you know, there's always room for comment or improvement. But I think what he's trying to do, as I said, is to try and provide a balanced cabinet for him now going forward into an election, and also to, you know, address his level up agenda. Some of the names on there I don't think will be known to many people, like Liz Truss. You know, a lot of people think she's a cut and paste from where she was at international trade, and all she did was cut and paste contracts rather than actually come up with anything herself. So I think that, you know, we have to wait and see and give these individuals a chance to prove themselves, and we'll then know whether or not they're fit for purpose.
And then you got Priti Patel, who remains as the Home Secretary still. Was that a surprise? Because many people were thinking that she was going to be shifted.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, like probably Gary, I thought she probably had served her time, and you know, I wouldn't say she's been a standout Home Secretary. I wouldn't put her in the incompetence league as I did with Gavin Williamson, but certainly I don't think that she has maybe commanded enough gravitas and authority in the role. It's a very important role, and I think, you know, clearly, you know, either Boris felt that she was probably the best person for the job, or there wasn't anybody else who could step up. But either way, I did think that somebody else may have got that role. And to be honest, what I thought was going to happen, I thought that she would step down and Dominic Raab would have got that post.
Gary, what's your take? Because while you talk about that, I'll just flag up the BMEs now. And really and truly, there's only one black man in there.
Well,
is that what you're saying, Gary? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Saying I hear what my my learned friend is saying, what Anthony says for the BME, and that's fine. Yes, I hold my hand up to that. That probably I didn't explain myself properly, and I applaud Boris for doing what he did in that regards. However, I think black needs to be represented amongst the political parties across the board, not only the Conservative, but also among the in the Labour Party. However, again, I think that with Priti Patel, I think that she should have gone. I mean, when you look some weeks ago, Seymour, we touched on the area of leadership. When you look at the Conservative Party that's in government now, and compare this bunch of people with the leadership of under Margaret Thatcher, probably David what's his name?
Cameron.
David Cameron.
Or even before that, after Maggie, when she left, the leader that came in. I understand again that many of the men and women that were in those cabinets of yesteryear, yes, they may have been new also. Yes, people may not have heard about them before they ever entered into those cabinet offices. However, you could see that these were men and women of character, more or less, even though probably that is a bit uncertain in some regards because of the shady lifestyles that they led. But they carried weight. There was some kind of either political or or business weight behind them as far as where they were coming from. Now we've got people that's coming in, and yes, again, I agree with Anthony that we've got to give them time. But they've been in post, some of them in their various posts for 2 years or even longer. And still they have not acquired the gravitas, if that's the right terminology, to kind of command the attention of the nation, of the people, of the citizens, to rally behind them and to be confident. There's no confidence, not even in the present team. There isn't any confidence. And if there's no confidence within the country that they are supposedly to be leading, then when they go outside into the other countries to stand and to speak on behalf of you, Seymour, and you, Anthony, they themselves won't see what they're talking about. There's no gravitas, there's no pull to say, yes, this man knows what he's talking about, or this young lady knows what he's talking about, because they have no credibility at home. So that's my concern, really, that the weight of leadership that is within the United Kingdom is just not there.
Could I put a little spanner in the works, Anthony and Garry, in that these present ministers, and when Boris won that recent election, they never really had a time to really go on a they weren't actually able to do their brief. COVID actually intercepted the whole process. Is that a fair statement? Because
no, I think Gary's got a fair point. You know, when you and it's I think what's happened now in the last couple of years, certainly in the last few elections, and I think where Gary's coming from is that in days gone by, and I know we shouldn't always hark back to the past, but certainly, you know, we can still remember Margaret Thatcher. We can still remember, you know, people like I'm trying to think of the Chancellor now, who forgive me, you know, my memories, perhaps I'm getting a bit on now in terms of age. but I understand what he's saying. You know, we did have individuals who had real identity, had real gravitas, had real presence when they spoke. And I think what we've got now is perhaps more career politicians.
Ken Clark.
Yeah, Ken Clark. Yeah, and also before Ken Clark, on the Labour side. So you know, we did have these individuals. Even when I was watching this evening, you know, people like Portillo. You know, these guys were real heavyweights. They knew what they were talking about. Sure. And you know, we all know that in a couple of years, people like Gavin Williamson will simply be known for being a clown. You know, Boris Johnson will simply be known for being a buffoon. You know, to be honest, Gary's saying about, you know, he didn't do enough. I mean, the only problem is he couldn't have actually sacked himself. So you know, the problem really is that, you know, we don't really have enough, you know, real caliber people through now anymore.
Yes.
Who have the sort of gravitas, the weight of industry and the business experience to fill these portfolios. I mean, let's face it, Liz Truss. I mean, I must be honest, I'm not, you know, falling over with confidence that she's the right person for Foreign Secretary. I just, you know, I heard her speech last night. It was cut and paste. I'm ready to do the job. I mean, it was so weak. It almost was, you know, because normally when someone takes a role like that, they can command the attention of the public who are watching them. They can command the interview. They don't need a script. And you know, all she could offer was, you know, I'm ready to do the job. I mean, she had nothing else to say. So we have to wait and see. But I think this shows the sort of lack of the real heavyweights coming in. And going back to Gary's point about black people, I think the point we have to really acknowledge that the reason why there is not enough black men or black women in these roles, Gary, is because we don't have many black people in the parties. So you know, you can't actually put people in post when they're not there. So you know, people like myself, Sylbourne, and yourself. You know, I mean, you know, I stood as a councillor, so did Sylbourne. The lady I lost against is currently an MP. That is Janet Dainby now for the Labour Party. So you know, we need people like ourselves to put ourselves forward, like we have done. And if we're selected, fine. If we're not, then, you know, we're not. But I think that's the problem. There just isn't enough individuals coming forward to actually put themselves in a position where they can be selected as MPs, in the future. And I think that's really the problem.
And sorry, Gary, please, Gary, go ahead.
Sorry about that, Sylbourne. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree totally with you, my brother. And the thing about it, Anthony, is that, I mean, I think out of the three of us, I believe only Sylbourne really knows that I ran for Conservative councillor in Wolverhampton, Whitmarines area, in the late 90s, wasn't it, Sylbourne?
I think so, yeah.
Somewhere there, yeah. Yeah. And that's the problem with us, is that if we're not running in a particular party, then we are not going to be voting for the individual that says that he's running, and that's our fault. That's our crux.
But Gary, at least like you, like me, like Sylbourne, at least we've put ourselves forward.
Yes.
There's not enough of us.
I agree.
That's the issue. If we don't have individuals, and not just, and we don't want just damn fool people putting themselves forward. Because don't forget, when we have had individuals who have been in the spotlight and representing us, we've had people like Diane Abbott. They haven't actually come through with shining colours, right? So we want people who can articulate themselves, who can have gravitas, like Kwasi, who can actually say, things in public and actually deliver and be articulate. We want people who have got some background, business acumen. We want people with character and personality, and it's difficult to get those people coming through in those roles for MPs when we know in particular that they can probably earn more money in industry.
Yes, would you say then that there's a void? I mean, we have been talking about the leadership thing for a while, and it is definitely, because we are seeing it worldwide now, whereby there's not any strong voices which we are seeing on the center stage in the world. Within the UK, and let's even jump over into the Labour Party, are we seeing persons within the black community there of political, you got the Don Butler, you got the Diana, but still got the Davy. I mean, there's a pool of persons there who need to shine, isn't it? Would we say that?
I would say, I would like to say, Sylbourne and Anthony, that there are credible black men, black women who could stand out within the community that they're in. We've got successful black partners in this country that could do to me a very good job. They're articulate. They can think quickly on their feet. Yeah. They know how to answer. They know how to put their arguments forward. It's just a shame that these individuals are not really either coming out or they're not being encouraged to. And I believe, my friends, that we are not really putting ourselves in a very good position to do the things in the community that needs to be done. Right. And we are suffering for that, because our communities that Anthony, that Sylbourne, in up and down in this country, in London, in the West Midlands, in Yorkshire here, that are suffering, and they're going to suffer because we are being left behind, because we are not putting ourselves in the places that we need to be heard. Other communities, yes, are getting what we should also be getting, but because we are not putting ourselves. And yes, there are people, there are black men, again, black women, again, who are well placed. They can speak well. They are articulate. They know how to present themselves. They're in the places that you and I probably would love to be, but they're not putting themselves forward, and it is causing us to lag behind in this country.
Because as I look at the list here, I see Rishi Sunak, I see Kwasi Teng, I see Nadhim Zahawi, see Sajid Javid, key players there, Priti Patel in the fold. You can see that the Asians are mobilizing themselves. You've got a mayor who is also Asian as well. But what we're seeing is that the the black community is lacking. And nevertheless, still, it seemed like it is not just within the black community. It seemed like, as Anthony said, and what we were talking about for a while, is that there's a clear void of effective leadership, strong voices with presence that we know, yes, people can look up. Because even Tony Blair at the time, whether you like Tony Blair or not, one could say that he was a leader, and people rallied around him, even though after a while people said, oh, that was some dossier was a bit dodgy. You know, but one could say that there was some clear leadership. What do we say? So what do we say then? Give them some time.
Well, no, what we say is, as you just mentioned, and what Garry said in closing, I think we have to try and encourage our communities to get involved in local politics in order that their voices can be heard. It's no point just coming out, you know, and campaigning every now and again, or jumping behind a particular movement and going to a rally. That,
Yes.
That's here today, gone tomorrow. But, it takes time, as we all know. I mean, when I stood for councillor, it wasn't like a 1 minute, 1 month thing. I mean, I was campaigning away for nearly 2.5 years. I mean, it takes a lot of commitment to get involved in these things. But, it is a rewarding opportunity when you do get the chance. And I think we just need to encourage more, maybe sell the idea of what it's like to be a councillor, to be an MP, so that we can get more of our own following the Asian community, who obviously have actually realized that power comes from influence, and get involved. And it's all well and good us shouting and sort of saying there's not enough, but ultimately we need people to come forward who are in the community right now and make their voices known. So that's, I would like to leave it on. I mean, I don't care about the cabinet right now, because we can't change that. We can only change what when we have a seat at the table, and until we get that seat on the table, like Garry is saying, then we have no voice.
Well, one other thing I'm going to do, because I was with Operation Black Vote with Simon Woolley, Lord Woolley now, and we plan to do a show together. So I'm going to get him on and to discuss that bit, even though to really put that way forward. I mean, the local government election is coming up in 2022. I've been offered to run again. I'm considering about it as well. But sometimes the position that you're in your job sometimes is considered a restrictive post. So that is something that you got to deal with again, because in some positions with when you work in the public sector, restrictive posts, which you are, and this then brings the whole point about the financial backings that can free people to run. Because sometimes people are constrained by their jobs, constrained by the times that they're able to go out there, and that is why sometimes in the political sector, you look at the breed of persons who are up there. There are people that they don't have to work because they got some sort of serious funds in the back.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is, Sylbourne. People have obviously, some people have been entrepreneurs, like, for example, like Sajid Javid, who's now gone back into becoming a minister again, looking after health. I mean, before that, he was a successful barrister, and I think Richie Shunak was a hedge fund manager. I mean, these guys had money before, and then they simply were known in their communities, and then they got selected as MPs, and off they were running to the races. So
I know what can be done, Garry. We just find the persons to run, and we get the backup and the hedge funds from Anthony.
No, you see the thing about it. The thing about it, from my advantage point, or if I can say from our advantage point, from what we see from our position, the Asians, when you look at across the political divide, the Asians have spread themselves out. Conservative, Labour, Liberal Democrat, the Monster Raving Looney Party, whoever that may be, right? They're in there. Now their strategy, from my point of view, I don't know about for you, so I'll speak for myself, is get into the chambers. Let's get into the council. Doesn't matter what. We'll toe the party line. We'll get into the council. When we get there, we can then talk. We can then say, our community needs this. And the community rallies behind that. What we need that unity. We
Yes.
need something to unify us so that we can support each other. So for instance, if Anthony was thinking of running, then the community in London or wherever he's going to concentrate his efforts, rallies behind him and say, Anthony, what is it that you need? Do you need so much, or do you need the help in this, or what is it that we can help to put you in the place where you can then help us, because we need someone like you in the places of influence. That is what we need.
Yes.
It's not Anthony, or let's say Sylbourne, you're moving up. You've been asked to reconsider to do something. Then someone like Anthony sees you wanting to go somewhere, then begins to say, no, don't follow Sylbourne. He's absolutely no good. He's this, he's that. You talk against him until you then decide, I'm not going to do anything because I'm not getting the support of my people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we've got to do things differently. We've got to do things differently.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard that bit there, and for those who are listening, and all being well, we'll cut this bit and to do a segment that talks about getting involved into politics. That is a very serious thing, and it's very important. That is where we show our level of participation, responsibility, and show that we are involved and getting so much a part of the political fabric, because we've got to be at the table, and if we can't have the table, we just bring the chair as well to the table. Well, anyway, guys, let's move on from that, and we wish them all the best. Job vacancies. This is something else again. We're seeing 1 million, right? Top 1 million. And some companies which are talking about furlough, what they say, 1 in 5 bosses plan to make furlough staff redundant when schemes head for 1.5 million, but experts fear they are unlikely to fill many of the 1 million vacancies in job UK workers feel are not for them. Is the UK public a bit touchy about jobs? Are they pick and choose? Anthony?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the hospitality sector, if you look at the care sector, if you look at social care sector, these are jobs that predominantly we've had people from overseas, European individuals who have come along to fill those roles, and whenever they've come along to fill them, they've been quite happy to actually do those jobs, and they do a very good job. It just seems that, and I read an article this week where I think the journalist, for him, what was it sort of summed it up for him. He was passing a building site, and on that building site, I think he saw 5 or 6 individuals sat around, they're having tea, all on their mobiles, and to him, that sort of was the sort of the view that he has of the British worker. They're not really as industrious. They're not the workforce that really gets stuck in and does a full shift and doesn't mind what they're doing. And I think, it would appear that some of our members in here in the UK who are currently unemployed or looking for new work feel that certain roles are beneath them, and they don't want to do hospitality. They feel that, it's beneath them to be serving to a customer in a shop. I remember when I was younger, I would take any job I would get. I never saw it as being beneath me. I simply saw the paycheck at the end of the month, and I was glad that it enabled me to pay my bills. So I think if you're proud and you're somebody who wants to work and you're committed, and you're ready to pull your sleeves up and work hard, you'll take some of these jobs and you'll make a career out of it, rather than simply saying, I want a better job than that. Well, if you want a better job than that, then get better qualifications, and then maybe you might be in a position to then see if you can get something else. But if you're someone who doesn't have those extra skills and qualifications, there are plenty other roles out there that people are able to take.
Garry, you heard that, and lots of jobs out there, Garry.
Well, Sylbourne, I believe that what we're seeing now and what we're experiencing has always been there. I think Anthony has hit the head has hit the nail on the head more than once in what he has said a few times. The before COVID, there were jobs there that was there, and the the citizens or the young people in this country didn't want them. Who filled those positions? We all know who filled them, and that was the Eastern Europeans that came here. What drove them back? It wasn't COVID, it was Brexit. Now, that problem has always been there, Sylbourne. The problem that we are having, that industry is having right now to fill positions, has never gone away. It has always been here. It is only that our present time has just highlighted it. There's been a massive yellow highlighter that has gone across society to highlight that this problem has always been here. We've got a lazy generation. Because the thing about it is that if you go back 10 years, jobs was always there. Well, people were always fighting to get jobs to some extent, or there was no jobs, or they were picking and choosing on jobs, but it was always there. But it's only now that because of the decision of Brexit, why many people have gone back to where they're coming from. They've just gone back. But and the people who are here never filled those jobs before. So why are we now going to be saying that they willing now to do the jobs that's always been there? There's going to be a problem. And it's going to take those very same people that they've been appealing to over the past, let us say, 2 to 3 years or even 4 years, if you want to include that. Appealing back to them to say, listen, take the jobs, they're here. So it's there. It's the need for workers has always been there. It's only that the people who had them, they came over initially, and then they've had to go back because the government put Brexit in.
But why people like what they're saying? The furlough, lots of persons with furlough, they are not, they're going to be redundant and they're not going to take those roles. Is it that they need to be, I think, Anthony, we talk about it, there need to be an inspiring chat. There need to be some level of motivation to say to people to build Britain. I mean, Al Chopper, chair of British Apples and Pears, said today, in every society, there are jobs working outside, washing linen and in care homes. There are jobs that fall at the bottom. They're not badly paid jobs, but they are jobs that aren't for everyone. We advertised locally for 70 fruit pickers, and we had 9 applications. But on follow-up, only 1 was available, and she has since got a job. In terms of recruiting locally, we failed completely.
Yeah, but as Garry has said, I mean, what we have here is a lazy generation in that sector. Insofar as, sadly, the jobs are there. But and the workers who came before were very happy to do those jobs from Europe, and the reason why they were happy to do them, a lot of the time, some of them were students from overseas, some of them were from countries where, in terms of the pay, they could get better pay here, and also they perhaps appreciated the opportunity of getting the work and actually being able to send money back to their families or whatever. Like, for example, the one coming from the Eastern Bloc countries. They came over here and they see that, there's all this building work going on, and they're thinking, wow, why don't the locals want to do the building work? And then all of a sudden, when the Polish builders now do the jobs, all of a sudden you hear the British builders saying, oh, they're undercharging, or they're not doing a good job. Well, it's not that they're undercharging and not doing a good job. They're out there. They're actually out there doing the work. I can give you an example right now. Actually, I've got a neighbour who lives directly opposite me, who I believe is from the Eastern Bloc. And this guy, over the last 3 years, as well as having his full-time job, has come home every evening. And since he bought the property directly opposite me with his it looks like, I think it's his brother, I don't know him personally, they have actually built the house themselves. They have put brick by brick. I've seen them do the roof, do the side extension themselves in the evening, and they work 7 days a week. Every evening they come home, they're doing that stuff. That's the commitment. They're happy to do the hours. The problem is our guys over here simply don't want to put in that level of work. And I think it's as simple as Garry said. He hit the nail on the head. It comes down to perhaps a lazy generation of individuals who feel as if, you know, they have some sort of a given right to be given senior roles. Well, senior roles require senior skills and senior commitments and senior attitude. And, you know, if all you want is big paydays for doing little work, then, you know, that's not going to happen. So I do think that it's a real question of the individuals taking the jobs and actually, you know, developing careers out of it.
Do you think Brexit, I know Brexit has had a direct impact. With the advent of Brexit, where do you see this? Because there seems to going to be some fallout somewhere along the line, unless they catch this thing back up with the chucks and with everything. COVID is right there in the middle of all of this. Do you think something is going to happen whereby there's going to be making some deals that someone like you say, hang on a second, isn't this back in Europe by the back door or something like that?
Well, no. I mean, you know, we've heard today Marks and Spencer have closed 11 of their shops in Europe because they simply can't get the supply chain. The situation isn't going to get any better before it gets worse, because Brexit isn't going away. We've moved out of the European Union, and we now have to make our own way. And, you know, we have to find other means to get things done. And I don't think we're going to find, you know, deals being done in back rooms, you know, a nod and a wink. I think we just simply have to now recognize this is how it is, and we have to try and encourage, and we shouldn't have to be encouraging, by the way, people to take jobs that are there. You know, I think the problem maybe is that we've got individuals who are very happy to be on benefit, or we've made benefit too comfortable, and people don't want to come off it.
Yes.
I think.
I
mean, I agree with what Anthony has said, but I think at the same time we've got to look and call a spade a spade. In addition to what Anthony has said, things are not going to get any better. The cost of living and inflation has gone up, hasn't it? They're saying that the cost of petrol or diesel transportation has increased. Now they're saying to some extent that that you know, for better or for worse, I don't know, if people don't take the vaccine, they're going to lose their jobs, especially within the care industry. And it's there is going to be a knock-on effect if all of these things really take or if they take on all of these things, my friends, people are going to be out of jobs. What's happened with Marks and Spencers is going to happen with other retailers, with other shops, with other businesses. People are going to be out of work. People are going to what are they going to do? Crime is going to go up. Then the benefits. What do you think the government wants to do with benefits? They want to cut benefits. That's what the Conservative Party really has always been about. They want to cut the benefits. Never mind with all of the benefits that happened during the COVID times with the furloughs and what the government had promised. They've spent billions. They've spent billions of pounds. And what we fail to realize is that, yes, they spent it, but yes, they're going to want it back. They're going to call it back. The government always reaps what they sow. They get it back. So the thing about it is that, you know, I don't know if, I don't want to sound too optimistic, but at the same, I think some pessimism has to be there because things are going to get bad. I believe so. I don't know if my friend Anthony will want to say anything opposite to what I'm saying, but I do believe that things are not going to get any better. I can't see it.
It is really unfortunate, though, when at the same time there's a massive plus and there's a massive light, which is 1 million job vacancies, 1 million job vacancies. But yet at the same time, it cannot be filled. But it is there. It could have been that there's no jobs, but there are job vacancies. And I guess something will have to be done, like with the job centers, fruit picking. I've said it all a while. I've said it. Sometimes I joke around it, but at one point when we we're having some difficulties during the initial bit of COVID, I was saying, and sorry, with the Brexit factor was coming through, I was saying I was happy to go down to one of these farms and just spend a day and just pick some strawberries, man. I was thinking about that, Anthony. I was looking for your support. But
yeah, but the problem is here, Sylbourne, that this is it. These individuals will try it for a day. They'll realize how tough the work is, and then they'll tell the employer, thanks very much. So I think, we just simply have to, there's no point trying to do a lovely advert to sort of make out what the job is. It's a tough job, and it requires commitment. And, as you say, there's 1 million jobs there. Let's try and get people to take them.
Yes. Well, guys, let's hope that persons actually seize the moment and take those jobs. Let's talk about maybe the prince can do so. Prince Andrew. Is Prince Andrew evading the law? Because they are coming for him. Is he bigger than the law? Is the Queen bigger than the law? Is there anyone above the law?
I would probably want to say that Anthony is You see, the thing about it, these guys, are friends. Let me not be rude or anything like that. Let me be civil today, because again, as Anthony reminded me a few weeks ago when I made a slip up, if anybody noticed, he reminded me and says, "Garry, you are a minister of the cloth." So I've got to have that in mind.
Yes.
But our friends, they seem to forget that whatever you do in life, especially at the level that they're at, it catches up with them. It catches up with them. And whether or not it did happen or it didn't, the thing about it is that it's going to be very difficult to disprove that he doesn't know the girl. Because look where he's at. Look where his hand is. He's hugging someone, or he's embracing someone that he doesn't know. Now, tell me, Sylbourne, tell me, Anthony, are you going to stand beside someone other than your wife with your arm around them that you don't know like that? Because if that picture then comes up, probably 5 years down the road, right, and whether she says it or not, to say that you made a pass at her or you had a relationship with her, right? Who's going to believe you, or who's going to believe her when you said nothing happened? And especially in this day and time, listen, my friends, as men, just men, and we are all married, we have our own children, right? And Anthony is a grandfather, right? But the thing about it is that
your grandfather, Anthony?
We are your grandfather, Anthony?
I am indeed.
Okay.
Okay.
But we all know, right, that one female has to, even if we brush past them or we're acquaintance, but one female just has to scream and say, Garry Graham molested her or abused her or raped her, and my life is finished. My life is over. Because if she reports that to the police, my job, as far as my
ministry
is concerned, and those over me, they're going to come down to me and say, Reverend Graham, you may have to step down until the investigation is over. And that, my friend, is what Andrew needs to consider, because he's the son of the Queen. And because he's also, let's say, wealthy, and he has had some relationship with Epstein, whatever his name is, right? Whether he knew what he was up to or not, the
Yes.
point is that it's going to be difficult to prove that you didn't touch that he did not touch that girl.
Yes.
And I think it would be man of him. It would be a man of him, or man of him to really, if he didn't do it, to just to say I didn't do anything, and it was to go to court and say I did not do it,
Yeah.
and if he's got proof, to present it. That's all he needs to do. Just
Well,
that is what you and I would have to do. We would
Yeah.
have to find the proof that nothing like that ever happened.
Yeah. Well, where it's at now is that they have been having some difficulties in serving him because the lawyers for the lady, Virginia, has accused Prince Andrew, requested that the High Court to contact him because there are issues about has he been effectively and properly served. Because apparently they had served his protection officers who said they'll pass it on or whatever, but there's some questions now. So the High Court in London will formally contact the Duke of York about allegation of sexual assault filed in the U.S. court. And Gary, you see that picture right there? Politicians sometimes, persons of influence sometimes, find themselves in a position whereby someone will want to take a picture with them for a selfie. I'm not trying to say that is what happened there, but that is something which happens a lot sometimes. They don't know the persons, or people just want to take a selfie or whatever like that. Anyway, Anthony, you say something before we change the subject here.
Well, to go back to your original question, is Prince Andrew either above the law or evading the law? Well, the answer to that is he's certainly trying to evade the law, but he's certainly not above the law.
Yes.
And I think, as Gary has mentioned, the fact that he is the heir to the future king, the son of the heir to the future king, so the king of this country in terms of Prince Charles, it's unfortunate, but as Gary said, and I think you've mentioned, if you have money and influence, you can try and make these things go away. But unfortunately, this has become a bit like a bad smell for Andrew. It simply will not go away because this lady has decided that she wants her day in court. She has been making these allegations for some time now. And unless you actually can come forward with defense and an argument to disprove what someone has said, and now I know it's very difficult when this is something that which is alleged to have happened in an intimate situation, etc. But as Gary has said, he needs to come forward and actually put his case rather than keep simply saying nothing. And as for this business about it wasn't served properly, well, that's just a complete and utter joke, because we're talking about, it's like me trying to serve a letter on the Queen. How am I going to get close to the Queen to serve a letter? It's just not going to happen, right? It's like me serving a letter on the Prime Minister. How am I going to get to him unless I'm invited? So he's not going to invite them in, and the only people they could give the to serve the notice to was his bodyguard to pass it on. So quite frankly, that argument is so pathetic that I would almost. I could go and rant and rave for days on that one, but I won't. I would simply say he's not above the law. He needs to represent himself, and he needs to actually put forward his case in terms of for the defense, so that it's out there in the public domain and people can make their judgment accordingly.
Or pay off or use some money or whatever like that, and whatever they're gonna do, But anyway, guys, we got some British sensation. We can wrap up with this. There's some positive news. British Emma Raducanu, tennis sensation. Anthony, I always see you all over the place. Have you been to her match yet? Have you been to her match? She's just in Bromley, up the road, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I tell you, I mean, first and foremost, congratulations to Emma. It's a fantastic achievement at 18. To have just finished doing your A levels, and then the next minute your US champion is simply the stuff of dreams. And I'm sure there'll be a film made, a book. You name it, they're going to come out with it. I think my only reservation to the success that Emma has had, and I know those who are watching might say, Anthony, why don't you just give her a break and let her enjoy her time? Yes, I am giving her a break. I think she did. I watched the match. at the final. I thought she played exceptionally well to win. Her stroke making was fantastic. But the one thing I did take away from that tournament was the lack of real competition in terms of the big hitting players. There was no Serena Williams. There was no real depth of players who she actually played against to say, well, I've beaten the top players in the world. She could only beat what was put in front of her. And the other reservation I have is that when it was I think it was 4-4 in the first set, I noticed that she was getting rather agitated when the other lady was coming back at her, and I would have liked to have seen if she had lost that first set, or if the other young lady had won the second set, how the game would have developed. But as I said, she can only beat what's in front of her. Yes. I think she's done a remarkable job, fantastic achievement, and I wish her all the success, the accolades, the money that's going to come her way. Because let's face it, whenever you're successful here in the UK, it will stay with you for the rest of your life. Look at Sue Barker. Look at the England football team. I mean, once you win something here, you become a god.
And somehow you have topped it off. So you went down into the killjoy zone and you brought it right back out. Anthony, that's good. Garry.
No, I support what my friend has said in regards to this tennis player. I mean, I think that she's done remarkably well at 18 years old. I just hope and pray that this young lady, she has the right people around her. Because over the years we have seen where, young men and young women have reached the heights that she has reached. And with all the money and the fame that is thrown at them, but it seems to have a very tainted effect upon their lifestyle. I really hope that the team that is around her, keeps her feet firmly on the ground, and it doesn't spoil her. It doesn't tempt her in any way, and she'll be able to move forward. Because you can look at other. I mean, I believe we're not speaking of him, but even Lewis Hamilton, I think he's done well. I think he's done very well to be at the top of his game. 7 years, I think he's been world champion, and it would seem that his feet is on the ground. So I think that this young lady, she will do well, and again, I wish her all the best.
Well, as you can see, the picture which I showed there was her dad. She's reunited back in the UK, right back in the UK 5 days after. Proud father, Ian, lifted her hand in the air before putting his arms around his daughter. So we wish her all the best. And she's a local lady around the corner. Might see her going to home base or somewhere like that, picking up some whatever. Well, guys, listen. Huh?
I said, I don't think so now. Not with a $2.5 million win check. Them days are over, Sylbourne.
Days are over. But maybe she might want to be still like the local lady around the corner there. But she, in her interview, she recognized that it might not happen. Her dad is from where is he from again? He's from Turkey. Where is that from?
I'm not sure if he's Turkey and her mom's from the Philippines, but I think hopefully, as we just said, hopefully she'll be kept grounded, as Garry said. And she'll have the right team around her that will avoid all the sort of mistakes that other sportsmen and women have gone through, and she'll be allowed to develop her talent, which clearly she has.
Yes, most definitely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Those on Instagram, those on Facebook, those on YouTube. We'd love to hear your comments and your views as well. Those on Instagram, just to let you know, I sometimes get people say they haven't seen anybody else. When you're hearing the expert voice of Anthony, Francis, and Garry Graham, you can check them out on YouTube, Sylbourne TV, where you can watch the show. I want to thank you so much. And Saturday night, Talk and Sip, where we'll talk about lockdown in Jamaica and also travel on the lockdown at this time with COVID. Guys, we didn't touch on COVID, but it's sometimes good to not talk about COVID, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So have a good night, Anthony. Have a good night, Garry. And ladies and gentlemen, all the best as well. And thank you very much. And peace out. Okay. Thank you.